Hi everyone! Today we are diving into advanced API mocking with Playwright. In this video, I'll show you how to create dynamic responses, validate data with Json schemas, and simulate server delays, all essential for reliable and efficient end-to-end testing. By the end of this video, you will have expert-level techniques to mock API like a pro. Let's get started.
Relying on live APIs during testing can introduce a lot of instability. Network delays or server issues are common and can make tests fail even when the app is fine. Mocking API responses allows us to bypass these issues entirely. It gives us full control over the data we test with, lets us simulate tricky edge cases, and makes tests faster and more reliable. Today we'll mock API responses for an app that fetches user data. The goal is to test how the app handles different user roles and ensure it performs well even when unexpected data or errors occur. I've prepared a simple web page with a button labeled Fetch User. When you click this button, it sends a request to the API user endpoint to fetch user details. This page is hosted locally, and I built it using plain HTML and JavaScript. It's a minimal interface so we can focus entirely on mocking the API responses. Now let's dive into the complete code setup. We'll walk through each part of the implementation step by step, from setting up schemas and mocks to writing the full test cases. This segment will give you everything you need to create a dynamic, validated and delay-tested API mock setup in Playwright. Let's start. We start by importing the required libraries. Import JSON, import time. JSON helps us handle JSON data, and time will help us simulate delays. Next, we define a JSON schema for our user data, and it will be user schema equals type, which will be an object, properties ID integer, name, which will be string, and same type for role. And let's declare required with list of ID, name, and role. This schema specifies that each response must include an ID, name, and role. The validate function will use this schema to confirm that our mocked responses meet these requirements. Next, we define the dynamic user response function. So let's write def dynamic user response with one parameter, query params, and if role equals admin in query params, then return ID, name, admin user, and role equals admin. Let's copy that and I'll leave role guest, then change for guest user, and role will be guest also, and default will be regular user, and ID Let's write the core of our mocking logic, and it will be def advanced mock with route and request as parameters, simple log intercepted request request dot URL query params equals request URL split and -1 if in request URL else empty string. And let's simulate a delay in response. Time sleep 2 seconds. And road fulfill status 200 body equals Json dumps dynamic user response with query params, and headers equals content type application JSON. The advanced mock function intercepts requests using Playwright's root object and logs the request URL for debugging. It then uses the dynamic user response function to create a JSON response based on the query parameters. The response is fulfilled with a status code of 200 and a JSON body. Now we'll write a helper function to process the text displayed on the page. This ensures the data matches the structure expected by our validation schema, even if some fields are missing. Dev parse displayed user data with displayed text as parameter. User data equals empty dictionary. For part in displayed text, split comma key value equals part split colon, and user data key strip lower equals value strip. And now let's add a default ID field if missing, and it will be if ID not in user data, if user data get role equals admin, then user data ID equals 101, and let's copy that and change for guest. And for regular user data and we can also ensure ID is an integer, so let's write else user data ID equals integer user data ID and return user data. This function takes the displayed text, parses it into a structured format, and fills in any missing fields like ID. It ensures the data is complete and ready for validation. R is missing here. Okay, now let's write the test. Advanced mocking test with page object Let's print running advanced mocking test. Now let's apply root with advanced mock. So it will be page root API user endpoint call advanced mock function, and let's write test cases. Test cases equals list URL HTTP localhost role admin, and expected role will be admin. Let's copy that and change for guest and user guest and default here. For case in test cases, page go to case URL, and then page click fetch user and page wait. Let's add the annotation here, will be easier to navigate. Okay, page is missing, so let's add from Playwright since API import page. Should work. Wait for selector. User data, and then user data equals page locator. User data, and it will be inner text, and then parse data equals parse displayed user data with user data information. And now let's add the validate function. Validate in validate is missing. Let's import Json schema validators validate, and now let's add the instance equals parse the data and schema user schema. Assert parse data role equals case expected role f string expected role case expected role got parse data row, and let's print advanced mocking test passed successfully. Let me look once again. Okay, dash should be here. Here is the full test function. It sets up the mock, navigates the application, clicks buttons and validates the responses for each role. Each test case verifies that the mocked response matches the expected role. For example, for role equals admin, the app should display admin user. Now that everything is set up, it's time to run the tests and verify that our API mocking setup works as expected. Afterward, we'll wrap up with a quick summary of what we've achieved. I'm running the script with PyTest using the S flag to display all print statements in the terminal. This lets us track the flow of the test cases and debug if necessary. No test run. Test folder. Okay, my bad. The test must be a prefix of method. Let's run once again. Something is wrong with our schema. Let's take a look. Properties. The type is missing here. So let's add the type integer and same for name, type string, and same for role, type string. Now it should work, so let's run and watch. Role admin, guest, and regular. Okay, it's too fast to observe. Sleep, 2 seconds. So now we can take a look at the response. Admin, role admin after the click. Role guest, guest. And regular, passed. Here, the mock successfully intercepted all API requests and generated the appropriate responses dynamically for each user role. Here's what we've accomplished today. We built a robust API mocking setup that generates dynamic responses, validates data with schemas, and simulates real-world conditions. This setup not only ensures reliable test results but also prepares your application to handle real-world API interactions seamlessly.